Hello. Happy Bieberchella. It's so cold right now. I actually had no idea Justin Bieber was going to be performing at Coachella. I haven't necessarily been online that much, as you should be aware if you listen to my episode at the end of last year. I've taken a break from social media. I'm only really using it for work. And the only reason why I found out that Justin Bieber was performing, it was because of LinkedIn and some posts that I saw on TikTok. Like, people were saying that he didn't really do much and Sabrina Carpenter did everything, and they're making parallels between how men don't really need to do much to get far and women have to do everything to get just as far, or even reaching like the tiniest distance away from where men currently are, which, yeah, I think I do agree with for the most part. However, when we watched Justin Bieber's performance a couple days ago, I was just like, this is actually really, really good. He is, I think, incredibly talented. I don't know most of his songs, especially the newer ones, apart from like Daisies, because that went viral. And I think Yukon, is that what it's called? Yukon or Peaches? I think those are two different songs. Yeah. But what he was performing at the beginning of his set, I was like, I had no idea what the songs were. However, I thought it was actually really good. Like, he's a great performer. He has an incredible voice. He has a distinctive voice and such a good, like, just he's got style. He's got style and he's very unique in how he does things. And a part of me felt very, just a bit, I don't know what the word is, but I felt slightly guilty. Not guilty. I felt just dumb making a parallel between Justin and MJ. I know, just wait. I'll tell you why. Some of his his tone and his sound and some of his lyrics as well, they sounded like something if MJ was born in this generation, I think would sound very, very, very similar. He did have a sort of 80s vibe to some of his songs, like with the synthesizers, and it felt very authentic. It didn't seem like he was trying. Like, it was just really clear that this was an artist, this was a professional, this was someone who was really confident and comfortable in who he is, how he's showing up, and his performance. And it just made me think about the comparisons that has been on socials around Justin versus Sabrina Carpenter and her performance. I have not watched her performance. I've seen some images of it, and I've also seen what was it? Oh yeah, someone was like ululating, and she was like, what is that? And the girl was like, it's Arabic. It's like part of my Arab culture. And Sabrina was like, no, I don't like that. And then after that, she came out with a statement being like, I'm so sorry, I didn't hear, but like from now on, all yodeling, and I forgot what the Arab word for it is, but I think in East Africa it's called ululating. Ululating. I should have listened to the pronunciation before I started speaking on this podcast, but anyway, here we are. Yeah, she was like, all of that's now welcome. But it's like, first of all, your apology didn't really, I don't think, it didn't seem genuine, or you didn't actually seem to have any sort of, you didn't seem to take accountability for what you said and for actually hearing what your fan in the crowd had said. You're just making fun of her. It just wasn't good. But, you know, that way of being, that way of acting towards other cultures is something that is not new amongst the global minority. But here we are anyway. When I saw that comparison between Justin and Sabrina, I was just like, and especially after watching Justin's performance, I was like, okay, Justin doesn't need to put on a whole theatrical show. He can if he wants to. We know he can sing. We know he can dance. We know he can perform because we've seen that. However, he chose to have a more stripped back version, which I don't think Sabrina could do. I don't think her songs are that engaging, and people love her songs, and she has a catalogue that's as extensive and loved as Justin Bieber does. So she's not able to do that. She has to do the song and dance and everything. It's sort of like a dad who has the kids on a weekend. yeah, when the kids go to the dad on the weekend, they're going to do all these fun stuff. But the mum's the one who does all the day to day stuff. The mum's the one who provides the quality care, love, and attention. The dad's just there for taking them to, I don't know, theme parks and swimming and holidays, and not even holidays because that's too many days. But I thought Justin did really good. And I don't think it was fair for the internet to compare him, someone who's literally been around for, what, 20, is it 20 years? Not 20 years. 15 or so years, I think, to someone who has gotten big off of sexualizing herself. Something that did annoy me whilst watching Justin, though, especially when he started doing his old school songs, was that when I was a teenager, I hated on him. He had some of his songs, Catchy Baby, Hit Me One Time, you know, the one, is it One Less Lonely Girl? One and Only Girl? One Less Lonely, yeah, One Less Lonely Girl. I knew those songs and they were part of a very specific period in my life. However, because everyone loved him, I was just like, no, I'm not a believer. I'm just Veda. I just listen to whatever music I'm going to listen to. And I didn't listen to his music in private and was saying all that in public. I wasn't doing that. I just was not a fan of his. But when he first went viral, I think I was in primary school. So around 2007 or 8, I think that's when he started going viral, or I started seeing his videos on YouTube. I thought he was really good, really talented. He was sat there with his guitar just singing, and I was like, this guy is really, really good. And then a few years later, that's when Baby came out and he took off. And I wish that I knew more of his songs, knew more of the lyrics, because when he was performing his old school stuff, there was some nostalgia to it all, which I just would have loved to have sung along to. But I sang what I could and listened to the rest, and I thought it was a brilliant set. It is so cold in our house, and I don't know why it is this cold when it is the end of April and summer is literally staring us right in the face, but the weather has not caught up yet. I refuse to put the heating on, so I am just bearing with this cold. I have really comfy blankets, I have my thermals on, I have my socks on, and I'm cozy. But I'm also quite cold. But I have some really exciting news, which I have been keeping under wraps for a while. But a couple weeks ago, I got a job offer. Whoop, whoop, whoop. If you have been listening to the recent episodes, you will know I have been on a journey after my career break of looking for a job, and it has literally been the most confusing thing ever. I haven't really known what to go for. I started off my journey with wanting just a job where I don't have to do much, but get paid lots, as I'm sure all of us want. And then I was just interviewing, speaking to dozens upon dozens of companies, and nothing was really clicking. I didn't want anything. I was exhausted. And then there was this one job that I wanted, but then I found out that in 2020, they were very just bad. They were bad towards the blacks, and I always said no to that job. And after a while, just nothing was really coming up. And I started speaking to this company randomly, and it just seemed to go really well. I loved the conversations we were having. People seemed kind. And that was something that I wanted. I wanted to work with kind people. I did not want my work environment to be a struggle. And I did not want to be coming back or logging off at the end of the day, being like, that was exhausting. Everyone that I work with are terrible people, and I don't trust them, and it's taking all my energy. I don't want any of that. I wanted to work with kind, nice, smart people who just loved doing their job and had like lives that they were passionate about and didn't want to draw or bring anyone else down because they were unhappy. And I think I found a company that has those kind, lovely people. So I went on the journey with them throughout all the interview processes, and throughout all the interview stages, And as I got further along the stages, I was just like, I actually really want this role. The role is a few levels down from where I was at in my last role. However, it pays a decent amount, definitely less, but still a decent amount. And the most important thing is that it allows me space outside of work to invest in skills, to invest in hobbies, to invest in life, to help support my career move that I want to take fully in the next couple of years. So I'm really, really happy that this job came. And the story of it, it was just, I feel like it's just a testimony to God because so last year I was made redundant from my position. And I suspected I was going to be made redundant on a Friday. I had the weekend to think about it. And over that weekend, I was just like, they better let me go because I do not want to be here. Now that the idea of never working here again is in my mind, I am beginning to realize how much I don't actually want to be here. And I'm beginning to realize how much this environment I've been in and this role and just me, I just need a break. And this just has not been productive for a life that I want to be living. So after the weekend, I came back to that job on Monday to see a meeting with my manager in at random time. It's always one of those random meetings with no context. And I turned up to that meeting and I knew it was going to be the meeting of them letting me go. And once they let me go, I was just free. I was excited. I was happy. I could breathe, and then I had to start working on my handover. And then very next day, so I was made redundant on Monday. The Tuesday, the next day was my last day. So that day I worked from couch. I had my final meetings with my work bestie. I watched High School Musical as I was creating all the handover documents, and I left. Fast forward to this job that I now have. They made me the offer exactly a year after I finished up at my last role. And I was just like, God, thank you. Thank you so much, because it feels like throughout my entire career, my entire former career that I'm still in, but looking to build a new one, I have really felt really blessed in the positions I've been able to have, at the companies I've been able to have, the experiences that they've opened me up to, the people I've been able to meet and actually call friends to this day, and how some of these jobs came about. It's one of those things where it's, you know, it's like, it's only God. To have been offered this job a year to date after leaving my last role, that just feels very much to me like a God thing. For, you know, previous roles, literally my husband meeting someone on the platform of a very busy tube station in central London on a Saturday night, striking up a conversation with them, and them working at the company I was interviewing at that only has 50 people, who then started advocating for me at the company. I joined the company. A month later, he leaves. Like, there's so many examples of God's faithfulness in my career, and I feel really blessed to have been offered this position. And I said yes to them, and I've been going through the whole contract process and getting all the setup I need to work this role. And the other thing about it is that it's a work from home job, which I've been doing for the past 6 years, and I wanted to continue doing, just because being in the office exhausts me. Having to be around all these people and talk to them in person just tires me out. So I'm happy to have a role where I can have the flexibility that comes with working from home. I have admittedly been quite nervous about starting, though. I've not been working for a year, and the job that I have been in, or the career that I've had, is very, like, it changes, things change so quickly. And if you don't have your finger on the pulse, you may become very redundant in the matter of months. So I've had to, since starting looking for a job, I've had to sort of plug back into this world and start learning more and ensuring that I'm up to date on what's been updated. But I have been quite nervous about starting, just because in the role that I'm in, of course, I have targets and I have KPIs and all that good stuff, and I want to be able to meet them. I think a part of me has just been nervous that, okay, what if I don't meet them? What if it's more difficult than I expected? what if it doesn't work out how I think it's going to work out? What if I just don't do well and I'm having to spend all this time learning, not able to work on my hobbies and developing skills outside of this role to enter the career I want to enter into? And I've had several moments since saying yes to the job of these thoughts. And even today, as I was washing my hair, because like the shower is like my happy and quiet place. And in the shower, I was just thinking, like, all the what ifs, all these things go wrong. What if I suck at this? What if I'm no longer at the company in like 2 months' time? What if? And I just remembered God's faithfulness in my life and God's faithfulness in my career life in the past with other jobs, but also with this job and how this job came about. It was just so, like, after facing, 4 months of just confusion as to what to do. What do I actually want? What's next? What opportunity should I take? Oh, I'm interviewing at all these companies, but I don't actually want anything and everyone's exhausting me. And then finally this thing comes and it feels so right. I just can't look at it and not see God in it. You know what I mean? And I think that even though these thoughts are there, I'm able to have something to come back to and being like, I fully believe that me being in this role was ordained by the Most High. Amen. And because of that, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to work out. I just need to continue to give it to Him and allow Him to have control over it. So I am very excited. I start the role very soon and I will give updates along the way and let you all know how it's been going. Today was one of those moments where it just felt like, I don't know, as time goes on, I approach my start date, right? And in order to start, I need to get all my equipment. I need to let them know what I need. I need to get like my email logins and all these things. And today I received, I think, maybe 7 or 8 LinkedIn connection requests from people at the company, which is a good sign because it just shows that these are friendly, nice, kind people who are, just as excited to have me on board as I am to be on board. I also received some emails around email setups and Slack and notifications. And by the way, the fact that it's Slack and Gmail, I'm so happy because the companies that to me are the biggest red flags are those who use Microsoft, those who use Teams and Outlook. Those companies are just, they're not for me. We don't mesh well. So I'm happy they're using the systems that I like to use, that I feel is indicative of a young, fresh startup. Oh, I didn't tell you to start up as well. Of course it is. What else am I going to do? Being a legacy company? Apparently that's not for me. So today I went through all those things and I think that's probably what triggered me feeling like, just feeling very nervous and quite overwhelmed. And then I also washed my hair and I'm like, okay, what hairstyle am I going to be doing? Do I have all the materials or things that I need to do that hair? And then I was like, I'm cold because it's been cold all day in this house. I swear it's warmer outside. And then I was just like, I need to nap. I just need to nap because right now I'm getting so overwhelmed. There's so many things going on. I also need to tidy up. The house is a mess. Things need to be organized. I need to know what I'm doing. I also need to make dinner. I just felt so overwhelmed and I napped today, but I am very excited to start this role. I am looking forward to this new season and I'm just so, so grateful that everything has happened the way it's happened. And I've even had time off before starting this job just to be in the sort of exhale of, I have a role. They've made me an offer. They've accepted my references and I can now breathe. I don't need to be on like a lookout mode. I don't need to be on applying mode. I don't need to be on interviewing mode. I can just rest. Maybe that's why I've literally been sleeping so much for the past week and a half. Who knows? It is 10:15 in the evening, and I'm recording this now just because of how overwhelmed I've been today, and I had just had to nap. But I'm really excited for this new season that I'm going into, and it does feel like a new season. And I feel very clear on what it is I'm meant to be doing in this season, and what it is I'm meant to not be doing in this season as well. And it feels good. It feels good knowing. It feels good knowing. And I feel like this season for me is going to be very challenging, going to challenge me personally in just getting out of myself. I feel like recently, I mean the last like 8 years, I have developed, and you hear this when you're younger, of people who are older just being like, the older you get, the less you care. But there is a point where you are young, and as you begin to get older, you care more, and then there reaches the stage where you start to care less. And I feel like I'm in the process now of just completely abandoning care, abandoning how I view myself, abandoning caring about how others, namely work people, may view me, abandoning all those things, shedding off all those things, and being able just to be free. I'm in the process of learning the art of creativity. I'm in the process of being able just to try and test and put myself out there and do new things that make me uncomfortable and learn new things that I don't know. And I'm so excited for that. I'm excited to develop as a person. I'm excited to grow more into the woman I want to be. I'm excited to grow my creativity and to build creative things and systems and content that I want to build. I just feel like I have a level of clarity that brings me great comfort. Of course, as it is with many things in life, the journey itself very well may not be easy. However, isn't it better to have a journey that's tough, but to have clarity on the journey, than to have an easy, smooth sailing journey without any direction, without knowing what's next for you, without knowing what you should be doing, and it just feeling like general fog? You know what I mean? So I just feel grateful. I feel grateful for where I'm at. And I feel grateful for this new season I have stepped into. And because I share a lot. I'm so excited to share everything with you and to even build this podcast. I mean, this podcast has just been me talking, and it may very well continue to just be me talking, and I will get better at it. I will get better. Trust and believe I will get better. Just listen to the old episodes versus now. You may not see a difference, but I feel one at least. But even growing this podcast and seeing if I want to have guests on, changing the types of conversations that we have, because I'm very aware that a lot of the conversation has been about, motivation and just going for your purpose and goals and going for things. That's just where I have been in my life at the moment, and that's been the conversations that I've been having. However, there's so many other things that I can speak about, and some things I feel a little bit more qualified to talk about as well, like marriage, relationships, finances, friendships. That's part of relationship. I already said relationships. What else? What else is there in life? Just life happenings and drama. There's so much that can be spoken about. However, I am entering that season to swap, to change, to build better, and to become more me. And I feel this coincides with aging. I have had a very difficult relationship with my age and getting older for probably since I was in my late teens. That's when I started to hide my age from everyone, just because I was when I got my first retail job, I was very quickly given a lot of responsibility without the pay, but I was given a lot of responsibility, and I was managing and supervising people who were older than me. And I found that if they knew my age, they began to treat me very differently. So from that point on, I started to hide my age, still be myself, but not let people know how old I was, because I knew that if they knew, they would find it more difficult to respect me, because that has happened. And they would find it difficult to listen to me, to take my direction, to be led by me. And that hiding of age is something that filtered into the rest of my life, where I just didn't really share how old I was to anyone. I felt uncomfortable doing so because I felt once I share that, they judge me. And because I also got along with people who were much older than me, that's just how it naturally was. There was also part of me that was just like nervous about, okay, if they knew how old I was, they would treat me a different type of way. Fortunately, I was able to open up to, my friends' and of course, everything was fine there. Well, not of course, but everything was fine there despite what I feared. But because of me having to hide my age in my career, and my career was such a big part of, my life, my goals, how I spent my time, what I thought about. I have just been very career focused for the longest time, probably since 13, 14 years old. That's when I started focusing on my career and focusing on what it is I wanted to do, building up the skills, the abilities, the connections, all those things to do the things that I want to do. It contributed to the difficulties I've had with my age, because when I started my first roles professionally, I began hiding my age from that very point as well, being a lot more intentional about it. My lifestyle as well was that of someone that was older. I was in the relationship for maybe 3 years when I started my first career job. We were in a relationship for longer. No one really expects like a 23-year-old to be in a relationship for 4 years. Is that maths? That is maths. The way I dressed as well, I didn't really dress very trendy. I didn't dress trendy just because that just was not my style, my fashion choices. I don't think those things really suited me. I wore what I wanted to wear. And the way I was as well, going through it in life, in my childhood, matured me a lot quicker, having a lot of responsibility when I was younger. All those things contributed to me feeling so much older than I was. And I just hid my age from everyone. And it was only last year where I was like, okay, let me just start embracing my age. I'm on this career break. I'm beginning to see things more clearly now. Let me start to embrace my age, because this is an area of my life I've been very insecure about, and I don't want to be insecure about any area of my life. So I started on that journey. And since making that decision, I have not been embracing my age per se. I have more so been staring down at my next decade and being terrified, being absolutely terrified. I'm running away from my 30s. I'm running away from it because I'm just like, I haven't even got to enjoy my 20s. How can I enter a new decade when it feels like I've just skipped from being like 17 to being 30? Where has the 23 years, 23? Oh my gosh, maths is chasing me, but I am faster. Wow. Where have the 13 years gone? I've gone from 17 to 30 and I'm just like, what? I haven't even gotten to enjoy my 20s and to enjoy being 20, because I felt at every single stage so much older than I have been. And now I'm just trying to just embrace it. And I was having this conversation with a couple friends today, and my husband actually. I had this conversation 3 times, two and a half times. And one of my friends was like, Veda, what you should do is write a bucket list of things you want to do before you're 30, and start checking those things off. That these are things that can help you be more present in the decade that you're currently in, so that when you do enter the next decade next year, you'll feel a lot more, okay, I have lived in my 20s. I have embraced my 20s. And now I'm entering this new decade, which I feel like is more me. I feel like that's a lot more me. But I want to embrace this because I don't want to look back. I don't want to look back at any stage of my life. I don't want to look back and be like, oh, I missed that opportunity, or oh, I missed that time in my life. Like, why was I rushing? Why was I hiding? Why was I not embracing it? I don't ever want to feel that way. And unfortunately, I have 13 years where I do feel that way, but I don't want that to continue. So I'm making that change now, because why would you want to hide yourself? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to minimize yourself? Why would you want to limit yourself just because of people's perception of you? Just because it may be a bit more difficult for you to do the things you need to do because of how people perceive you based on an element about you. I don't want that. I don't want that. So that is something that I'm going to be working on. And of course, I'll be sharing it here and sharing it on my socials as well. This has just felt like a very rambly podcast. Let's call this girl talk. Let's call this girl talk or Veda talk, or I don't know what I'm going to call something talk. It will be in the title. But quick fire update, my internal thoughts, the current conversations I've been having in my life at the moment. I still need to figure out what I'm going to be doing with my hair. We'll both see next week. It'll be a surprise to both of us next week. But next week, we'll hopefully have a bit more of a comprehensive episode. We'll see what happens. I mean, I can do what I want. It is my podcast. But make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow. Make sure you give me a 5-star rating. Do all of the things. And have a good day. Have a good week. Have a good life. Bye.